This is a HeadGum podcast.
Hello, this is Fake the Nation, where we talk about news, we talk about culture, and where we issue a falling iguanas forecast for the state of Florida. I'm your host, Negin Farsad, and that's right. As if Florida already wasn't the butt of every joke or the dangling penis of the country. Every year, when temperatures in Florida dipped, they experience falling iguanas because apparently when cold-blooded iguanas get cold, they just sort of drop to the floor, which honestly is maybe the most reasonable thing about iguanas and about Florida. This week, we're going to talk about a dangling penis of a different form. It is the incoming Trump administration. We'll also talk about the pardon of Hunter Biden. We'll discuss the Oxford Dictionary Word of the Year. And finally, Australia is making some moves on social media, and we will get into it. I have the best ever panel for this discussion. I'm so excited to have them. You're going to probably hear both of these guys many times in the next few weeks because they're both doing something special with me, which is a Godfather recap pod, which I'll explain in a minute. But first, joining us for the millionth time, it is host of the podcast Yo, Is This Racist? A podcast you should be immediately subscribing to because it's delightful. It is also the spiritual cousin of Fake the Nation. You've heard him perform. You've seen his handiwork on many television shows as a writer. He is the incredible Andrew T.
Hello.
Hey, Andrew.
We do prefer to be called the God Brothers, but yes. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having us.
We are also joined by, again, you've heard him on for the millionth time. Happily, these are both favorites of the show. We're so happy to have them. He's host of the Putting on Airs podcast. He's also a contributor to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution because he's a fancy. And he's just a fucking goddamn excellent comedian. He is the excellent Corey Ryan Forrester. Hey, Corey.
Hello, Negin and Andrew. How are y'all? I know exactly what happened. You saw that you had a story about Florida and then Australia, which is the Florida of over there. And you were like, we got to bring in the redneck. We got to have him here to translate some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. I should note, so what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks is you are going to hear these very voices in addition to Danielle Derschlag and Peter Sagal, the host of Wait, Don't Tell Me, because we are all doing a Godfather 1, 2, and eventually 3 recap.
Yeah, not 3.
You could tell the font on 3 just went a little smaller when you were talking.
I totally. And it's funny because Andrew's like, Negin, the producer Andrew is like, Negin, when are we going to do Godfather 3? And I'm like, yeah, we'll do it. I mean, it's weird because it's like, I hadn't seen 1 and 2 and I haven't seen 3, or at least I don't remember. And at least 1 and 2 I was a little bit more excited because it was like, okay, these are in the canon of cinema. I should know what these movies are, And, but no one wants me to see Godfather.
I want you to.
And everyone, you do want me to?
Of course I want you to.
Well, I will be doing it because I am a completist, if nothing else. So next Monday, you will hear Godfather episode 1, the first Godfather. And then following Monday, you'll hear Godfather Part 2's recap. These are scintillating discussions in which I am the driving force of not knowing about these movies, and having like a very, a 2024 lens on what is a 1971 classic. So, it's an interesting time. Spoiler alert, Corey is a fan. Just that's all I'll say.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
You should have made him guess. You should have made him guess. Who here's the biggest fan?
I sort of did a couple misogynies. I'm guilty. I committed several.
All right, folks, let's get into the show with topic number 1. So it's the end of the year. A lot of lists are coming out, like one that's proclaiming that Beyonce is the entertainer of the 21st century. There's another list that called Fake the Nation, the podcast that uses the most boxing match sound effects. Of the 21st century. And of course, the Oxford Dictionary has come out with its word of the year, and that word is brain rot. Now, for those of you who don't know what that might mean, brain rot refers to the kind of rot brought on by digital overload. Now, I suspect we've all experienced this at some point or another, or we're just constantly experiencing it at this point. But guys, what did you make of brain rot as word of the year?
Well, brain rot is one of those words that sort of, I guess, kind of like woke is now, where like I feel like the first time I heard it, it meant a different thing than it does now. You know what I mean? Like, and also, I like it depending on who says it. I don't know who, like, I don't know which team co-opted it first, right? Because I see it thrown around a lot by the right, being like, oh, y'all are, you've got brain rot, you're too online, that's not real or whatever. But
I was going to say, when the right talks about it, they're specifically referring to the worms in RFK's brain.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then when the left talks about it, it's always like, the Trump state media, that's what's rotting your brain or whatever. So like, I don't know who owns it. You know what I mean? I feel like it's sort of like the rainbow. At one point it was God's and now it's the gays, and I'm for that. You know what I mean? That's a good change in my opinion. But I think we've all got a little brain rot if we want to be honest with ourselves.
I had perceived it as I had perceived it as like a generational thing. Because to me, this feels like now that it's at OED levels, this is like millennials and up, like discovering this from the Z's and alphas. And so now it's to be millennial Gen X myself, it's washed, but washed is brain rotted away. So I think to me, I just perceive it as this is old people versus the kids. Like, you're all brain rotted. And as an old person who is myself brain rotted, I have just found ways, or I'm trying to find ways to simply leverage it. Like, I'm not gonna not instinctively look at Twitter, for instance. So what I did is I put the Blue Sky app where Twitter was, and I just don't subscribe, like barely have anyone on my Blue Sky. So I just look at less stuff. I'm just trying to like use the shit that I already know is there, at least in a sort of positive way.
You have just made such a great point that blew my mind. Every time they add a new word, it's because the young people have made up a new one and they have to put it in the Oxford Dictionary in order for us to have heard it, because we know all the words we know, and we're not, older people, especially older liberals, are not good at making up new words. Like, they've just been saying "call fei" for 4 years. You know what I mean? Like, they got that one, they latched onto that, and that was it. That's such a great point that I never thought of. But yeah, you're 100% right.
Well, it's so funny because I said something the other day, I don't know, in conversation, where I said something like, oh, like that's a Sophie's Choice. And then I was like, oh,
yeah.
Can I not think of a fucking other thing? I mean, first of all, talk about another movie I've never seen. I've never seen Sophie's Choice. But here I am, because I know one vague thing about it, and I reference it like I've seen it. That's A. But B, what is the thing that I should, according to Gen Z, be saying that isn't Sophie's Choice? Is Sophie? I mean, maybe Sophie's Choice is also like
it's the decision. LeBron's the decision, I think, is what ours would be.
Is what I should say?
It's 2 levels of loot box, and you have a high value loot box and a lower value but lower cost loot box.
But now I feel like you guys are doing gender.
No. And to defend you, by the way, most people that use the term gaslight have never seen the movie Gaslight, nor do they know that that's where that comes from.
True. Now, but you guys made an excellent point about the word like officially sort of being out because it is the Oxford Dictionary word of the year, because the word in 2023 was, and I had been saying this for months, but the word of the year in 2023 was Riz. And the minute I heard it, I was embarrassed for it, and I wanted everyone to never say it.
Riz should be a Skittles flavor, and that's it.
Ooh.
I agree.
Like
it
Raz?
Should be the thing that happens when you crunch on nerds or whatever.
Those
What's
fizzy
the one
ones that
they fizz in your mouth?
Yeah, Pop Rocks. Ooh, I'm risen.
That's right.
I'm risen. I got pop.
I'm risen. Yeah. Oh, it's got Riz. It's popping. It's popping in my mouth.
This is a really revealing about y'all's crunching on Pop Rocks is the most impatient thing I can think of.
Yeah, right. They do it for you. They do it for you.
It'll take 2 seconds and just keep a little bit of spit in your mouth. Come on, guys.
I've been that owl from the Tootsie Pop commercials my whole life. There's another reference people don't know.
Okay, because also the word in 2022 was goblin mode. And by the way,
I don't even know that.
Again, we discussed goblin mode on this show when it was like a big thing on TikTok. I mean, part of this is fuck TikTok, because it like makes these words and then immediately runs them into the ground.
What is goblin
mode?
What I
mean? Goblin mode is when you're just like feeling gross and like you don't want to go out and you're just hibernating.
That's depression.
Yes.
We've had that word.
it's just like taking a day off. Like it's sort of not a big deal. I think part of it is there is a part of me that's like, stop naming those things.
Yeah.
Like, it's cute. It's frustrating. We're all writing a think piece. Why are we doing it? I don't know.
If you call a bad day, I'm in goblin mode, your life is very good. You have a very good life.
You're going goblin mode. You're like it's like you're kind of just like a grubby little goblin.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, and it didn't have the same. I don't think it caught as much fire as Riz did in 2023.
Not as much staying power.
And then the 2021 word is the last one I looked up. It was vax, which I think was correct.
Yeah.
For 2021.
Vax, like with a question mark at the end, because that's the way I saw every time someone died. That was the first comment. Vaxxed. Like, dude, Jimmy Carter could drop dead tomorrow, and they'd be like, he was fucking vaxxed, I guarantee it. And it's like he's 102 years old.
Man, I can't wait.
That reminds me, I haven't gotten my flu shot. All right, the public service announcement.
Plague is back. No, get the flu. Who cares?
Okay, folks, we're going to take a quick break. And in the meantime, I want listeners to tell me what they think their word of the year is, because brain rot feels like it applies. I mean, as the actual functional definition of it, it feels like it applies sort of always. And I don't know, it applies always, although maybe the popularity has come up this year. But also, I can't even say that I've heard very many people use it in conversation. Like I feel like I've seen it more as like a social media term.
I know what you're talking about.
I think it's like, it is a little bit like woke, or like, to really age it, it's like hipster. Like brain rot is always something that someone else is.
Right.
Yeah.
Hipster has changed so much over the years. Like I got called one the other day because I read actual books. Like,
my God, you fucking
like, oh, you hipster. I was like, dude, do you realize what you had to do to be a hipster when I was a kid? Like, it was way more hardcore.
It was way more involved.
Like, there was patchouli and stuff. It wasn't just not having a Kindle,
I would also say that, like, when it comes to the word hipster in particular, it feels so old to say it now. Like, the same way I think it felt to say hippie in, like, 90s or something, where it's like, who's a hippie
And millennials
anymore?
getting there. Like, it was hipster, and then millennial took over hipster, and now it's like, they say millennial, and it's like, bro, we're 40. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Where everyone's got kids and like they're,
we're putting you in homes now.
Never stop being a cool cat. Never stop listening to jazz. Let's go.
That's right.
All right. And on that hi-hat, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll continue. And we are back, and we're ready for topic number 2. Over the holiday weekend, our president, Joseph Biden, carved the turkey, ate too much stuffing, probably had a pumpkin-flavored ice cream, I'm just imagining. And he also pardoned his son, Hunter Biden. I mean, just off the bat, what did you think of this news, Corey?
Well, first off, let me tell you this, and this could be because, as you know, I say I'm a new father. He's almost 2 years old. That's still a new father. It feels like it was just yesterday. I usually always, I think me and you have talked about this. Whenever something happens politically, before I have a reaction, I always try to go, okay, how would I feel about it if the other team did the same thing? Like put yourself in the position of the other team did the same thing. And I swear to God, if Donald Trump's president and Don Jr. or Eric does something that lands them in jail, I would think he was a bigger piece of shit if he didn't pardon them, because I'm a father, okay? I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. I get it. I know that Hunter did a bad thing, but like, the president gets pardons. You think he's not going to use one on his son? If my son shot my wife, I would tell the cops I did it. You know what I mean? Like, I would.
I mean, God, that got so dark, Corey.
I'm just saying, like, the love of a child, especially that's his only living son. Like, you got to be insane to think and by the way, most of Trump's pardons from the last time are in his cabinet now. You know what I mean? So like, but again, I swear to God, as much as I hate Donald Trump, if he pardoned his son, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. Honestly, I think you were a worse person if you didn't.
Wow. Okay, Andrew, your take, please.
I've been sort of checked out on the personal politics of sort of like the presidency, as in like, yeah, I know all this is going to happen. I'm surprised this was such a big deal, but then I have been sort of surprised that Hunter Biden has been a thing, period.
At all.
Yeah, like, who cares?
I do think the who cares of it is sort of, because it's like, the like hand-wringing hypothetical of what if Trump did this is like, okay, yeah, we know what if.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I'm just like, it's so irrelevant and to me clearly filling the news cycle. I will say, knowing very little about Hunter Biden's personal demons, I did joke about this on Blue Sky that, you know, if he was a real G, Hunter Biden would just do his stretch and come out
That's
for the
right.
family, you know.
That's right.
I'm sure there are details that make that tweet offensive, but I don't know what they are.
Not to me, says the white man.
I mean, I think, like, look, I see where you're coming. First of all, it's funny because I think the Morning Joe host came out and said this shouldn't have been covered as breathlessly as it was. Not that I fucking care what the Morning Joe hosts say, but I thought that was interesting because that also made news, whatever. But I think it is interesting. There's like something about a president that doesn't have very much personal scandal where they like take a lot of the little things and make them a big scandal. Now, this Hunter Biden thing, obviously the right turned him into the star that he is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think, you know, and also there's two reasons that I understand for it, and then two reasons that I would say I'm against it. Two reasons I'm for it is what Corey said. He as a dad, like, fucking obviously, you know, you're just gonna do that because he's probably predicting that they will continue to make his life miserable. Even if he just gets parole for the stuff that he was charged with, there's more things that they'll probably try and dig up, and then they will probably try and bankrupt him with legal fees. I can see that happening. And when you're a dad, you see that happening 100 miles an hour and you're so scared, you know? And also, the other reason that I find this to be reasonable is that the thing that he ended up getting charged with and all this stuff is like lying on a gun application about having used drugs.
Who among us?
Which is who among us? But also, it's just not something that ever gets charged, right? So that makes it feel like this was trumped up, and like, you know, and then all of the tax evasion stuff. He should get charged. That sucks. To pay your taxes. What the fuck? But again, the extent of all of this is, you know, feels, you know, just a vindictive part of
presidential pardons do exist, right? And the only person you can pardon is a person that did a bad thing. Like, if someone didn't do a bad thing, you wouldn't have to pardon them, right?
Which
Corey,
brings up,
you may have a slightly rosier view of law enforcement than I do.
No, I hate the cops, dude. No.
I'm just saying, I would throw out, there are people who are in prison, etc., who you can do.
No, hold on. Excuse me. The context was missing. I meant people for whom that would be at the level for the president to pardon them.
Sure.
Is what I mean. Yes. That's what I mean. Because I'm still pissed off that Obama didn't pardon Wesley Snipes. Like, I thought that should have been like, you know what I mean? Like, no. There's more people in prison that shouldn't be than there are that should be. Let me get that straight. I just meant like presidential pardons at that level. It always has to be something kind of heinous. Otherwise, it could be taken care of at a governor's level or something like that. You know what I mean? And again, it's your son. Like, I don't know what else to say other than, like, you will do anything to protect your child. Like, if my son gets a DUI and the judge comes to me and says, hey, slip me 10 grand and I'll make it go away, I'll do it. I'm not saying I'll beat my son when he gets home and be like, don't do that again. You could have hurt people, but I don't want his life ruined. And if I have the power, I won't do that. And so if I'm the president, what? Okay, so this dude can send drones places, but he can't get his son a slap on the wrist. Get the fuck out of here.
This is what a couple of reasons why that I'm not cool with it is Biden and his this press spokesperson, all of that, has said over and over again, are you considering a pardon? He would say no. He said, if you go back and listen to the sound bites, I mean, they forcefully say, no, we are not considering a pardon.
If Democrats lied more, we would have won the election. So I'm for it.
And I think what's also shocking, he gave himself no wiggle room. There was not a moment where he's like, well, maybe, you know, we'll see what happens. Like, there was nothing like that. I don't believe in it. But also, and again, it's like this guy doesn't do very many things like that amount to this kind of like personal scandal.
Right.
And this is it.
He's going to be dead in 3 months, bro. Who gives a shit?
And then I would also say that, you know, and the reason he stated was, I don't want to do this pardon. I believe that he should be, you know, we should see this due process through. And, you know, if he deserves punishment, he deserves punishment. It's like, he basically doesn't want to undermine the justice system. And by this very pardon, he is minorly undermining the justice
Was he saying that
system,
all
which
during?
Republicans love.
Was he when he was saying that? Was it during the Kamala campaign? Was it before the election? Well, there you go.
It seems.
I mean, it was like,
there you
like, well, yeah, of course, because he thought, yeah, of course he didn't have to.
I do
think he had to do
could
it.
be a little more real, which is like, I thought Kamala was going to be president. I thought like Hunter would get a fair shake in the justice system, and I no longer believe that because of fucking Trump. So this is why I'm doing. I do wish he was, or just owned it more. It's like, fuck it, I lied.
I lied. It's my son. I love him. My other one died of cancer, and I talk about it a lot. Like, just fucking, like.
Yeah, I mean, fuck. But and also the thing that I think that has struck other people as like crazy, or just not crazy, just like maybe too much. And again, from the perspective of a parent, is it too much? I don't know. He gave Hunter a blanket pardon from anything that happened between January 1st of 2014 and December 1st of 2024. Not just like he lied on this form, a pardon.
Anything
the pardon is whatever he did.
I'm just saying.
That is the scope of a pardon, I believe, that has ever been
with
done.
it all on the field.
And that is very interesting. But I think again, from the point of view of a parent, they would have found anything. Yeah. And they would have found anything to keep this going and to bankrupt him and ruin his life. I really kind of believe that, because Hunter was never like, it's weird. They had to find someone that's not totally relevant. It's like, it would be cool if they focused all of this attention on like Bob Menendez, who fucking literally did do crimes. Right. So they like, crimes that are really relevant. And I'm not saying that Hunter Biden's crimes are not relevant. I'm not trying to take it out of context, but I think Bob Menendez's crimes are more relevant to the functioning of government. So I don't know, whatever.
I stand by what I said. If Trump pardoned Don Jr., I'd get it.
Fun fact, Benjamin Harrison pardoned Mormon polygamists in 1893, noting that they had abstained from such unlawful cohabitation by 1890. So they had apparently stopped polygamying in 1890. They were free and clear for 3 years of polygamy, and then he pardoned them.
That's all it takes.
I thought that I had never heard about that pardon, and there it is. All right, let's move on quickly to... Also, again, Trump pardoned Charles Kushner, father-in-law,
what are you gonna do?
His daughter. So just as a reminder. Okay, now let's move on quickly to Kash Patel, who Trump wants to appoint as FBI director. I mean, minor note, Christopher Wray is still the FBI director. He's serving a 10-year term, which is not up right now. So he would have to fire him and all this shit. And it's unclear if this is, I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, but let's talk about Kash Patel. For those of you who don't know him, he wrote a book called Government Gangsters. And among other things in it, he said that he would fire the top ranks of the FBI. He would ask Congress to expose, quote, every single bit of filth and corruption at the agency through testimony. And he would withhold the agency's funding. He would also prosecute leakers and journalists. And he would replace the national security workforce with Trump loyalists who would not undermine Trump's agenda. So that's just like a little summary of the wonder and glory that is Kash Patel. What do you guys think of this dude?
Andrew, please go first.
Here's what I will say. As someone who is wildly uninformed, I do not have a great baseline, but this kind of goes through... I've been just trying to like remind myself that I'm not saying things are not about to get possibly immeasurably, possibly irrevocably worse under a second Donald Trump presidency. However, I will just say, as me, I don't think there has ever been a single FBI director that I, or, your average kid yelling on the street in a protest would not have called a fascist on some level.
Right, percent. Yeah. I mean, I was going to open with, first off, fuck the FBI.
Yeah. So
100%.
I am unclear, and again, I am wildly ignorant, but, I'm just trying to remain cognizant that, things are quite bad even under good presidents. Yeah. So I just don't know how much worse this is, how much of this is talk, and how much the, general, because one thing we saw in the first Trump presidency that I do think will be mirrored here is because it's been mirrored in his life, which is he does a lot of shit, or he tries to do a lot of shit that's easy to say and loses interest and loses, the ability to execute, because
he's very manic.
Yeah, a lot of these things that are described here are difficult. and there's a significant apparatus against it. And again, significant apparatus of people that even under the best hypothetical president I could imagine, I would personally still consider bad people. So
Could not agree more. And I think it's like, I agree with you so much in the sense of like, dude, the FBI, like, I mean, I guess you want them if your daughter gets kidnapped, but they've historically done horrible things.
yeah.
You know, at least in all the crime stories I watch. But him, like Trump wanting to fire this guy, like it sort of insinuates that the head of the FBI is like liberal or something.
Yeah.
And I don't buy that at all.
So,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? And I just don't understand. Like, I remember, like, my buddy Trey Crowder, a comedian extraordinaire, before he was a comedian, he worked for the Department of Energy, and he was there, working there during the transition from Bush to the Obama administration at the Department of Energy. And, like, no, nothing changed. The same people were there. It was just like, yeah, we work here, you know, and we'll work under this president because we're whatever. And it wasn't, I don't know. It's like, it feels all too Hollywoody. You know what I mean? Like how, you know, like whenever a studio head gets fired or something, the new guy comes in and is like, scrap all the ideas, even the good ones, because they have to be mine. And I have so much PTSD from all of my shows that have been canceled that it just can't be a good thing.
I mean, I think there's like good and bad, or like a range,
Yeah.
not good, but like
A
there's
spectrum.
like average
Yeah.
and bad directors. In Kash Patel seems like someone who watched like a J. Edgar Hoover biopic and was like, oh, I want to be that
Yeah.
guy. And you're like, no, you got the wrong
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Like people
about
who
this
watch
thing
Wolf of
about
Wall
J. Edgar
Street.
Hoover."
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I want to be like that. Or people who watch
I
The
was gonna say the same
Godfather
thing.
and are like, I want to be like fucking
That's
that.
Corey's one of the good ones.
Yeah.
But point is, I feel like, you know, and I think some of the stuff about him is, and there are things that the FBI does, and again, it is the agency that's the most, that and the CIA, whose power can be a little less checked because they do so much stuff in secrecy
Right.
and what, you know. And I think, you know, so, but there's stuff that like the FBI does in counterterrorism and whatever, that needs expertise, right? And that we probably do benefit from. And William Barr, now remember Barr? Okay,
Is that
Bill
Bill Barr?
Barr.
Oh, Bill Barr? Oh,
Bill
Garfield?
Barr, he said that, you know, that Trump wanted to make Patel an FBI person back in that last administration, and Barr said, not over my dead body. Okay, so that's how he's, and then later on in Bill Barr's book, which I did not read, he said, quote, that Patel had virtually no experience that would qualify him to serve at the highest level of the world's preeminent law enforcement agency. The very idea of moving Patel into a role like this showed a shocking detachment from reality.
He's perfect.
Yeah.
And so I think at the very least, we should know that he is, whether or
Yes.
not we like the FBI, he's utterly
Yes.
unqualified to run a thing that might benefit the American people in
Yeah.
some cases.
I
All right.
yeah. He's gonna be bad. I understand that. I realize everything I said before sounded like, who cares? I know this will be very bad.
Yeah, sounds like you have a more rosy disposition on the FBI than I do.
But I want to say, I think the interesting thing, here's two interesting things. One is the part of the reason this guy is getting such a big appointment is because he has just sucked that dick like many
Yeah.
times, very consistently for now like 8 years, right? And what I find really interesting about being a Trump loyalist is that you sort of want Trump because he's a strong man. He's got this image of masculinity and all that stuff. But then to be a supporter of his, you have to neuter yourself and become a cunt,
Yes.
which is the thing
Speaking
that
of
the
God,
Trump
it's
people hate.
oops Alfredos all the way down.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's so funny. Oops, Alfredo's, which is my favorite pasta. But that, like, JD Vance shared a picture the other day. It was like a very Norman Rockwell thing around Thanksgiving of like, it was, again, JD Vance shared this. It was Trump serving the turkey, and JD Vance was next to him in like a female maid's outfit, like he was his like wife or whatever. And I'm like, I'm sitting there going like, can you imagine if Barack Obama had put out one of those and Biden was in like a dress or whatever, like how much they would freak out. But JD Vance is like, you know, Trump was like, yes, please put it out. Put JD in a dress. Make everyone know that I'm the man of the house.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And JD is just, their servility. I mean, it's so
I miss the
so
old JD.
demeaning. It's like the indignity that they have to suffer to be less of a man so that they could be men. It doesn't make any sense.
No sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And why do they all do this to themselves? It's so
One
strange.
thing that is, I've been, spending, I guess, a month now, or more than months for me, looking for silver linings. And one of the small silver linings that I have found, because of literally the structure of how Trump and fascists in general, but this type of hyper-speed fascism has kind of organized itself, is that whatever the fuck happens, it truly, almost by design, has to end with the physical, even the worst case scenario, like emperor shit, has to end with the physical life of Donald Trump. Because he creates an institution where literally there cannot be a successor, because a successor would imply someone that could take this mantle. And to be in the organization, you have to be a sniveling weasel. So it is literally like even the most outlandish, crazy nightmare scenarios, you can sort of see, the horrible versions of law enforcement, National Guard, whatever, the army going along with an insane proclamation from fascist President Emperor Trump. You cannot see the same thing happening under fascist President Emperor JD Vance. Like when he is like, fire on civilians, they will simply say, get the fuck out of here, little boy. It's not going to happen. So there is a tiny silver lining.
And JD don't have it in him.
Yeah, he doesn't have the juice. I think you're right. He doesn't have the riz.
And which is why I also think everyone is waiting for Elon Musk to have a falling out, because Elon Musk does not seem like the type of person that can be a sniveling weasel for very long.
No, I mean, Elon's doing this because legally this is as close as he can get to being president. I mean, that's I really do believe that. It's like, it's not that he likes Trump so much, it's just that he knows that money talks. And like Trump, the reason that Donald Trump wanted to be president is like, Alexander looked out and he cried because there was nothing else he could conquer. Well, Trump had made all the money, banged all the women, and it's like, everybody, no matter how successful you are, everybody always wants to level up. It's natural. You always want to level up. Staying still is dead. Trump had to become president, right? Elon Musk, richest man in the world, bought Twitter. He's literally William Randolph. Between him and Joe Rogan, they're William Randolph Hursting the world. What's the next move? Well, it would be to be president of the United States, but until Trump changes the Constitution so that Elon Musk can be president, he can't. So the best thing he can do is purchase his way into being like, you do this, I'm Dick Cheney now. I say you do this, I give you $1 million.
Interesting.
And I believe he'll tire of it. I believe he'll tire of it.
He'll want to go back to his trains.
I will say, I think Elon is too personally annoying for this to last very long. Like, he's
Agreed.
just such a, like, obviously.
Trump will tire of it, and Elon will tire
Trump
of it.
likes
they
hanging
just
out
don't
with cool
have
people.
Yeah.
Listen, dude, fuck Kid Rock and fuck John Daly and all those people because they like Trump, but they are definitely fun to hang out with. Elon Musk is not. You know what I mean? Like, they're a and I know they're a blast.
Do you think they're a blast for Trump to hang out with? Though that's a thing that's
a good question. Yeah, that's
a great
John
question.
Daly, yes, because Trump's such a huge golf fan, and John Daly is, and John Daly's a mythical figure in golf, and also like coming from where I'm from, I know John Daly types. There's no one on earth who couldn't have a good time with them. You know what I mean? I promise you. But yeah, Kid Rock, I don't know. He buys his own bullshit too much.
I do think like Trump also fancies himself sort of like fancies himself sort of an elite that would view Kid Rock as gauche.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It does feel like, I mean, having not seen The Apprentice, any of the versions of media called The Apprentice, but
ooh, is that our next recap? Kidding.
I watched it. You didn't like it?
No, I just haven't seen the movie.
I just haven't
seen it. Yeah, the new movie too.
Oh, the movie.
My thing is, it just feels like Donald Trump has been angling for the approval of dickheads from the Upper East Side his entire life, and every move is actually taking him farther away from it, and he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yes, that is.
He's adrift.
He's never gonna belong. And like, dude, the thing is, like, it's so funny because like, compared to Elon Musk, Donald Trump is homeless. Like, he's broke. You know what I mean? Like, and people, this is the constant thing that I know me and Negin have talked about, but I talk about with, my buddies down here who voted for Trump, because we've noticed that, like, everyone who's down on their luck is just a temporarily embarrassed future millionaire.
Yeah.
That's why they vote against their self-interest, because like, no, if I work hard, I can be this guy, right? And I've always been like, you realize that you are closer to being the homeless person you stepped over than you ever are to being Donald Trump.
To being those
and
guys,
that actually goes Donald Trump to Elon Musk, because like Donald Trump can't sniff that kind of money. And you know what I mean? So like he's outclassed. Like, yeah, he's constantly looking for approval.
Well, listen, folks, we have to move on because I really need to get to this last story. No, this was a riveting conversation. I'm glad we got into it. But we need to get to topic number 3. And the reason we need to get into it was because I'm actually so fucking excited. So I wanted to make sure we touched upon this in this podcast. Australia is now the first country seemingly to totally ban social media for users under the age of 16. Holy fuck. This feels big. And interestingly, you know, some other countries have tried to do this. It's been held up. Like France tried to do an under 14 thing that got kind of held up. Florida tried to do an under 14 thing that got held up with constitutional lawsuits and stuff like that. So I guess just what are your first thoughts on this move by Australia?
I think we should ban 16-year-olds.
If they don't exist, they can't be on social media. That's a fact.
That is a fact.
We have to go from being 15 to 17.
Yeah.
Man,
like you don't have the 13th floor in a building.
Yeah, there's like, no, me and you have talked about this, but like, you know, when people say like, oh, we've got to learn to agree to disagree, I'm like, yeah, we can't when it concerns like who you think should be able to live. But this is kind of one of those conversations where I could see myself seeing every single side of it. Because like, as much as I do think social media is harmful, dude, it's harmful to me, and I'm a grown man. You know what I mean? It hurts my feelings every day.
Every time.
Immeasurably. But at the same time, I also believe in, I'm not a libertarian, but I do believe in certain amounts of personal freedom and personal responsibility, and that there are certain things that it's like, look, this is up to the parents. You know what I mean? Like this one might be up to the parents. I don't know, because there's sometimes the government, I think, makes a great decision. Like, I do think that the law should be you can't smoke until you're 18. I do believe that. But then on this one, it's sort of like, well, I don't know, man. Like, what if all 14-year-olds aren't built the same? You know what I mean?
I totally hear you. And yet, I hate that argument because it suggests that parents can somehow compete against this incredible force that is the addiction to social media.
That's true.
And parents cannot do it. Because I see parents trying and they are failing. You know what I mean? And if you age gate this thing so that it's not even a fucking question, it doesn't mean that it eradicates the problem, but it makes it so much more difficult. Because I was the kind of kid that wasn't gonna try and do a bunch of drugs or whatever because they were illegal. You know what I mean? Now, were there kids that did all of those things? Absolutely. But did the law work on people like me? Absolutely. And
I love that.
I just threw this on. It's early in LA.
What? Tell us what your T-shirt says for the listening audience.
It's got a picture of a real goblin mode possum, and it says, "I was born to be a criminal." In
did you know I was coming on, so you wore a possum shirt?
It's just there. All my shirts are possum shirts. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's all he wears. But do you know what I mean, Andrew? What do you think of the divide between me and Corey here?
Well, by the way, I see your side too. Go ahead, Andrew.
Right. I know.
I will say, I think it's like, from a sort of utilitarian standpoint, like anything that the big tech companies are really against is really worth pursuing, even if it is completely imperfect.
That's so true.
Because the fact that these people are fighting it sort of just tells me, like, it hits me wrong, but you know, who cares? If Facebook and Snapchat and Twitter hate it, there's something to it. So,
right, because they make more of their money off of those kids. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, by the way. Again, me and Negin have talked about this. I just read this 5 minutes before I came on here, so I don't really know how I feel about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. That's why I don't do as many rant. I do more writing than I do reaction rant videos now, because I've grown up as a person. I'm like I can just. I can just see a headline and get really emotional and be like, this is but like what you said makes sense. And like, I hope my kid doesn't want to be on social media. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I really hope that if it had been around when I was a kid,
I hope I don't have to choose it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, bad stuff.
I hope I don't. I hope that there are rules in place that I don't have to fucking deal with it.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with it as a parent. I mean, she's still too young for me to
me,
deal with it right now, but like,
because
I don't want to deal with
yeah,
it.
you just sold me by me not having to like do a thing later on in his life, like for me to be like, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sold.
I mean, by the way, I don't have to deal with it because she's too young, but I have to deal with screen time in general,
Yeah.
and that's already annoying. I mean, I was raised by a television, so like my parents did not have to deal with screen, but like their way of dealing with screen time was like, you're doing great being raised by
Yeah.
television, and it worked out. But
Corey, I'll just point out your hypothetical kid, even in this episode, has committed murder and drunk driving. So
That's very true, and I think social media might be to blame.
hypothetical crimes, future crimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, you know, that's the thing I talked to about my wife about like too much screen time is like we only started using that phrase when we had tablets and phones. We never considered the TV
Yeah.
a screen. And like I'm here to
Yeah.
tell you right now, I learned life lessons from LeVar Burton, Big Bird, Bill Nye. Like I tell Amber all the time, she's like, oh, he's watching too much TV. I was like, yeah, but the stuff that we have him watching is like learning shapes and learning words. Like he should
Education.
be watching that.
Yes.
Like me and you are busy, we're working, we can't just be doing like, so that's like a little, depending on what is on the screen, I don't think there's a problem with it.
And the interesting thing is because YouTube. Oh, so by the way, like just a little particular about this law is that it includes, let me see what it includes here. By the way, if a tech company does not comply, it'll face up to $50 million Australian, which is
Like
$10
$80.
$32 million
Yeah.
American.
Did we just make the same joke?
Got you, dog.
Wait,
Possum
I
Brothers.
missed the joke. What was the joke?
I said $10, he said $2.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So it is less, but that's the penalty they would face. Now, looking at a company like any of these fucking companies, that feels low to me, but whatever. And there's a gray area that is YouTube. Now, the interesting thing is we don't count big screens as screen time from our childhood. And the funny thing is, like, we don't let her use an iPad or whatever because there's something about having the device in your hand where you then have the autonomy to choose things yourself. Versus there's a screen and becomes a communal thing where like the parents are in the room, they know what you're watching and all that stuff. There's something about that to me. Again, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I've talked to Corey about this. I'm a first-time parent.
You know
what the
that
fuck
you
do I
can
know? But
click
like, to
the
me,
button and it makes it where they can't choose anything on the screen. It just stays on.
That's
Yeah.
because
Oh,
that's the
right,
brain
right,
rot.
right.
The brain rot is, oh, I'm bored, hit a button, I can change it. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
bored,
no,
hit
it's
a
like
button, I
watch
can
this
change
to
it.
completion, you know. But like the thing about
there's-
YouTube is
but point is, I still don't. I just think like the idea that she watches a thing in the living room and she watches it knowing that her parents are
Yeah.
there and blah 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 is somehow different for me.
it is different. You're not doing anything wrong.
Right. And then I think like the idea that she would have a device in her room at like 15 fucking getting dick pics
Yeah.
from God knows
Yeah.
who. I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
Like it. And also, and I know that before I get this message, I do want to say one of the main arguments against this kind of ban is the community that LGBTQ kids find on these apps. And I believe that that's true, but that only means we're doing a terrible job as parents and educators of helping these
Yes.
kids find in real life communities where they can feel safe and find friendship. So
They're probably
that's
finding more hate than they are community at this point, though. So like,
I agree.
And YouTube is like at least on TV, you weren't 3 clicks away from actual Nazi propaganda,
right?
which
Yeah,
is
that's true.
Exactly.
wild.
But you know, at the same time, though, the only way YouTube is social media is through the comment section. So if they just disabled the comment section for kids under whatever, because that's where it gets dirty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you are correct. Like
It is.
I've been watching YouTube, and all of a sudden something comes up, and I'm like, what does this say about me that this is in my algorithm? Jesus
No,
Christ!
I
what the
literally
fuck is-
searched for like a tent review, and it goes
Yeah.
from tents to knives to guns to Nazis. Like
Yeah,
so
well,
fast.
yeah, okay, I see where, militia, building,
It's
yeah,
so fast. It was
it's
wild.
crazy. It's crazy.
And again, I mean, I feel like we need there's safeties on cars to help adults drive them,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? And that there are no safeties on YouTube
Right.
to help adults not get Nazi fucking propaganda.
A helmet
Come
for
on.
the internet. We need.
We need a helmet for the internet.
Yes.
And we know we expect absolutely nothing of these social media companies. fuck them and fuck all their money.
If I may actually,
they make me very angry.
Just like the personal responsibility argument, even is this. All this, like, I find that like to be such a red herring or just just completely false, because this is completely absolving the people who actually publish horrendous stuff on social media of any responsibility.
I agree.
That's the thing. It's like there is responsibility that's not being taken. I just shook my whole desk.
No,
it's
I'm actually glad that I went.
Nazis.
I'm actually glad that I went. Well, no, I'm not glad that I went first, because if I hadn't have gone first, I wouldn't have said what I said, because you changed my opinion on it completely. I'm willing to admit that. But I mean, I also said it was a gray area. Like, there's things I see that I'm like, I don't know.
I can see it.
I don't know. But yeah, now thinking about my kid, like, and how easy it is, because dude, that's why there's young far right people right now than there has been since the fucking
the
Alex
algorithm favors
is because
the algorithm
they do, and those kids and hey, I get it, man. You're I get it. Like, what I'm saying is you're a young kid, and maybe you've asked a girl out on a date and she ended up going with the guy that played basketball, and then the next thing you know, you hear Ben Shapiro talking about how women ain't shit and stuff. You that opens up something in you, and you're like, oh, so it's not me, it's them. Like, and you're 13 years old, so
Absolutely.
you just so no. I mean, I retract everything I said. I say kill all the tech people. Matter of fact, you know what would be great? Get rid of social media altogether, and then comedy will have to get back to a place where we just do shows and promote it on the radio.
Make flyers,
and
I'll make physical flyers.
Yeah, it'd be great.
I'm fine.
No one has an advantage on anyone. We're just doing morning radio. Hey, it's Jimmy in the butt. What's going on?
Yes, Jimmy in the butt.
Yeah.
All right, that, my friends, is the end of the show. What a lively discussion we had. So fun to have you both on, and I would love for the people of Faith the Nation to be able to follow you and all the stuff that you do. Andrew T., where do they do that?
I guess I'm tweeting at Blue Sky. At Andrew T. Podcast is Yo's is Racist. We have a premium show, sort of fake Patreon kind of deal at suboptimalpods.com. Yeah, that's me.
You can follow me at Corey R. Forrester on everything. I would prefer, if you're on Blue Sky, join Blue Sky and follow me there, because I'm enjoying it a lot more. My stuff is more visible. People get to see the things that I post. Also, if you enjoy my work, you can subscribe to WeLoveCorey.com. That is like my Patreon, but a little bit cooler. It's $5 a month. I don't do tiers, and I do live streams and stuff with people. I write fictional audio dramas, and it's a lot of fun, and listen to Putting On Air. Sorry, I've pitched too many things.
Folks, you know where to find me and all the things I do. Just remember that you will be able to hear the beautiful voices of these two gentlemen on the Godfather and Godfather 2 recap podcast coming your way the next couple of Mondays, and there will theoretically be a Godfather Part 3. And so definitely tune in for those. You can hear me on Wait, Don't Tell Me this weekend. So tune into that. If you're in Chicago on a Thursday, tomorrow, or the day this drops, and see if you can get tickets. It's always a fun show. And otherwise, I want to thank everyone. And also, special thanks to everyone who joined the Patreon as part of their Giving Tuesday, which was like really cute and unexpected. Thank you so much. You can go to patreon.com/Negin Farsad to support the show. There's so many ways to do it at various tiers. And I want to thank everyone who makes the show a possibility. That's our fantastic producer, Andrew McGuire. Thanks to everyone at HeadGum. Thanks to Gaby Alter for our theme music. You can email us at faiththenationpodcast@gmail.com. Again, support the show at patreon.com/Negin Farsad. And otherwise, we'll be back in your earballs next week.
That was a HeadGum podcast.